Thinking about my friends, Indie Coffee Coalition, just thinking about the hundreds of thousands of dollars we've saved coffee shop owners just like you, who are not franchisees, who are looking for deals on their fat mix and their energy drinks. Why should the franchises get all the deals, right? Indie Coffee Coalition was built with the idea of saving you, the little guy, tons of cash. So if you're a coffee shop owner, you have 1 to 3 coffee shops, and you're serving blended drinks or energy drinks, we can substantially save you money and keep more money in your pocket. Set up a call. I'd love to talk with you. Indie Coffee Coalition, keeping money in your pocket.
You have your big guys or big drive-throughs, like the corporate ones, but there's the kiosk culture. It is almost non-existent out here. They're popping up, which is great. We're cheering for those people because it helps us ultimately, but that's an extra pressure of the opening that we're about to do.
Welcome to the Coffee Experts Club, where we discuss all of the insights, expertise, and drama that goes into making your passion your profession. Our hosts, Aaron, Ben, and Drew, are 3 coffee experts who have taken their coffee experience and turned it into true expertise. They have consulted with major coffee brands throughout the United States and beyond, providing operations expertise and growth strategy for drive-through openings, multiple locations, and everything in between. So brew yourself a cup and hang out a bit with the Coffee Experts Club.
Hey guys, I'm excited today to have our guest today on Coffee Experts Club. She's a deep and dear personal friend. She and her husband both. We were really gifted the opportunity to help them open their very first stand. And they've just done some amazing stuff at it. And I know we all have had a touching point in with this lady's coffee stand, she and her husband. I'm just excited about what they do because it's not just coffee that they do. And I think, it's pretty rare to find somebody that nails their brand so hard when it's not just coffee. I mean, everybody nails coffee, right? That's where I'm always like, how different could your coffee be? Talk to me about your single origins. Talk to me about where you get it. Talk to me about your machines. Like, I get it. Like, everybody's got their own secret sauce, but really, when it's all said and done, how different is what we do? But I will say what these folks do with coffee, I feel like is very standout and unique because they use it as a platform to reach people. And I think that, yeah, coffee's there, but it's not just about coffee for them. They've got a whole outsider nation is what they call it, that they're, man, just pushing back on the norm and challenging what people would consider some stereotype they have to fit in. So with no further ado, why don't we bring Lindsay McPhail onto the stage and let's talk to Outsider Coffee today on Coffee Experts. Hello. There she is. So, Lindsay, we would love to hear maybe just a little snapshot of your heart for Outsider. We've had Outsider on the show before. I think it was CJ, though, actually, that we had last time. And I think we probably have had both of you guys at some point in time, but I would love for you just to give our people a taste of who Lindsay and CJ are, what you guys are doing with Outsider Coffee, and then talk a little bit about your second location, your third location, this one across the states though, right? You're an intercontinental brand now. I love that. Like from door to door, you're like East Coast and West Coast. We've got them both buttoned down. So maybe just chat a little bit about that today. Excited to have you on the show.
Sure. So Outsider is really just born out of our love for people. And we worked with nonprofits, both of us did in different capacities. And when we got married, we just thought, man, wouldn't it be amazing to have a coffee drive-through where people could come in and you could just encourage them, like in the drive-through, like, here's your coffee and, here's some encouragement. And that was 24 years ago and kids happen and we have kids with special needs and all that comes with 4 kids and then adding special needs on top. For a long time, our dreams were just kind of put on the wayside. We, lost everything at one point, moved in with my parents with 3 kids and had no jobs. And I think it just became so clear what's important. And what's important is people. And as a family who has kids with autism, and just really, to be honest, CJ and my personality, we're just outsiders. We don't quite fit into any category. Like, it's like we're always the square peg in the round hole. And sometimes that's amazing. And sometimes that's just awkward and hard. And so when we were thinking of names, at first we were like, Dark Horse Coffee, that's it. And it turns out that's already taken with a trademark. So we're trying to think of all these names that would symbolize kind of just the outsider, the one that comes from behind that you wouldn't expect to do anything, because that's a big part of both of our stories. And we both thought of outsider and we were like, this is it. We're outsiders, but in the best way. And so our heart is just to bring people together, like all people, all different faiths or not faiths or political beliefs, like just all of us, that we could connect in a way to know like we're all outsiders in some capacity. And when we can connect like on a human level, it does something powerful. And so we've got to spend the last almost 5 years just loving people. Right now it's from afar, but we love on our team and they get to love people through the window. And we're really proud of kind of the culture and just community that we've been able to create with our very amazing team. So
Love that. It's awesome.
Yeah. And I know probably pretty big rule of thumb for Outsider Nation and Outsider Coffee is you guys are always doing crazy stuff, like always doing things that it's like, I'm like, wait, what are you guys going to do? In fact, and let's bring it back to the very beginning. You guys told me the whole vision and you're like, what do you think? And I'm like, I would feel a lot better if you didn't do it in Southern Oregon. Like, yeah, I mean, like, isn't there a lot of coffee? Yeah. You guys were like, no, no, no. We know we're supposed to do it here. And you opened up downtown Medford. And man, that stand is beautiful. Turned out great. But like we were talking about before the show, man, not without his blood, sweat, and tears. You know what I mean? Like that thing was a tough thing to get off the ground in the historical district. We had to push and pull on city and they tried to give us all kind of shenanigans, made you put in a pond the size of the stand behind it, right? Just to retain the water on the parking lot.
yes.
All the crazy things that went along with that first location. And then when second location came up, it kind of whipped up out of nowhere, right? This opportunity opened up and you're like, yes, let's just do it. I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. Like, is that sure? You sure you want to go that fast? You're like, yes, we know it. Let's push it. Let's do it. And we opened up that second location in Central Point and that was beautiful. And that went so quick. That was like such a quick grand opening. But then you guys really surprised me when you're like, hey, we're packing up the whole house and the whole kit and caboodle and moving to the opposite side of the country. And we're going to start opening coffee in South Carolina. And I'm like, what are we even talking about? And that's kind of where you guys are at now, right? Like you're coming up on stand number 3, and I know today we're going to talk about just like, it's not all a bed of roses, right? It's not all easy stuff. And I know that this third location has been stretching and, you guys moved your whole roaster operation out there, you like moved your whole Dietrich machine onto that side of the country and like the way you're doing beans and all the different stuff that you're doing. So we would love to hear about just the excitement of all the crazy that comes from Outsider Coffee from CJ and Lindsay McPhail.
yeah, I think, every single stage has been such an amazing learning experience. And what we were saying before is, the very first one, I was like, this is so hard. And you were literally doing everything. I don't know what I was doing except for crying on and off every day. And it turned out amazing. But compared to now where we're at, locations actually 3 and 4, we decided at least for our 4th location out here.
Look at you guys. That's amazing.
5 franchises this year. So it's been a lot.
We haven't even talked about franchising. I forgot you guys launched franchising too. That's amazing.
We haven't got a franchise open yet, but we've made some great progress. So we've sold 5 locations and everything is learning. And I think we moved out here 2.5 years ago with a site. We're just south of Greenville. We're by Clemson University. And we had this site. It was perfect. The traffic was like amazing in Greenville. And so we have our architects do the site plan and go back and forth. And ultimately, a national coffee chain came in, took our spot and our site plan, which is fun. And I was devastated. I was so mad. And CJ is so positive. Thank goodness he balances me out. And he's like, babe, that wasn't our site. But it was hard to let go of that because we had that site in our head moving out here. Like, oh, of course we'll be open within, 6 months max. And then you go down the road and we're at 2.5 years. And our 3rd location is here in Pendleton, which is a tiny, tiny town, but it's right in between the main like freeway and Clemson. So we're on this highway. We're actually where 2 highways converge and it's crazy, amazing traffic in the community that I love, where our boys go to school and it's small, but there's a rec team. And so we're so excited to get involved. And it's just 2.5 years later. Yes, it took forever. There's been so many just like, did we do the right thing moments, but it is the perfect spot. And we're so excited and it's such a beautiful building. So I think some of the hard stuff, it's hard on every different location for different reasons. We opened the 2nd location actually while we were out here. And I would never do that again just because we didn't get to have that same like bonding experience. I think I left 4 days after we opened and we go back frequently, but it's not the same. I worked the bar in our first stand for, almost 2 years. So of course that's not going to be the case in every location. But I think the important thing is we talk and you guys have amazing people on so often and you guys give so much good advice. And I feel like I want to talk about that it's normal for the whole process to be hard and not like it's hard and it sucks. It's hard, but it's worth it. Like there are so many sleepless nights where you're just like, oh my gosh, all these things have to line up with the funding and the timing and the permits and the now hiring a team because we know we're going to open in 3 weeks, but are we sure we're going to open it now? So it's all these things that just kind of let go like this. And I feel like we're like skating in, like not purposefully, but we're going to make it. And every single time there's something hard, but if you don't know that it's hard for everyone, and that's a broad assumption, I'm just assuming because this is our third one and our fourth one, and it's been so challenging. If you don't know that going into it, you might think, oh my gosh, I made the wrong choice. Or, oh my gosh, I bit off way more than I could chew. And when we don't know that we're not the only ones like hitting those walls, we are so much more likely to quit. So when as a business owner, I can say it is so hard. We're on number 3 right now, and it is so hard. And there's still so many things that we're learning. So if I can say that and be transparent and like I haven't slept in a week, but still say it's still worth it and it's amazing and we're so excited, then maybe somebody else will be like, oh, good. It's not just me. But also for me, just my personality, waking up every day, getting dressed in office clothes and going and working in an office from 9 to 5, for me, that would be so much harder. It would be so much harder than what we're doing right now. So it's kind of like the whole choose your part. And
Yeah.
this is the life of an entrepreneur.
I mean, me and Drew can attest to that too. Like every grand opening we've done, we're like, this is number 13. We've got it in the bag now. Oh, wait, we've never done this before.
When they
It's always like, there's always something new. Like you've got the whole thing, you've got the book, you've got the 300-page binder of exactly how to open a shop and start a new coffee shop. And then something random happens. You jut out into the street and the city shuts you down. What do you do with that? You've never done that before.
Yep.
Like it's to your point. Exactly. It's not that it's never easy. It's just that it's always different. And I'm guessing, especially for you guys, I'm really curious to know about like how different it was going from even just operationally from Oregon to like now we're in South Carolina. Like, how do we deal with South Carolina jurisdiction? Like all of that sort of stuff.
It is so different. Just even right now, I'm going through like right after this, I have my manager food handlers test. Well, in Oregon, it takes you 5 minutes and it costs $15
Right.
just go do a thing.
Mm.
No, this was on Wednesday. I did a all day. We're talking 8 to 4 live training. And then you have to schedule this big thing. It's a big deal to take this test and it's not super cheap. And I actually love it because I'm like, dang, I should have taken this before. But it's really good. But even just with the little stuff, the logistics that you don't think about, and then coming out to an area that really the coffee culture it is not like West Coast. You have your big guys or big drive-throughs, like the corporate ones, but there's the kiosk culture. Let's just call it kiosk culture. It is
Yes,
almost
I like it.
non-existent out here. And it's definitely, they're popping up, which is great. We're cheering for those people because it helps us ultimately. But that's an extra pressure of the opening that we're about to do, the next driveway over from one of those big chains. And we've had people say, again, like, are you crazy? Yes, we are a little bit crazy. I know what it takes. But we're so different. And I think that there is definitely enough for everyone, especially coming from West Coast where you're like, yeah, well, in Oregon, every quarter mile, you have a different brand to choose from. So
Yeah.
I just think there's different battles out here of creating that culture of, yes, you need a coffee for pickup, for grocery shopping, for going to the gym, for coming home from the gym. Like that's Dutch Bros, Human Being, BlackRock, like they paved the way for that for us in Oregon. And I will always be so grateful for them. And that is not a thing out here. So it will be interesting.
What are
I
the
think
big
that
competitors out there? Is it Dunkin', Starbucks?
Yeah, I
Starbucks.
didn't know if I was allowed. I didn't know what the rule
Yeah,
was,
say
but
all the names. We say all the names.
okay. Yeah, it's Dunkin' and Starbucks mostly. And then there's some really great coffee houses, like where you go sit down, but no kiosks. And certainly nothing like us where we actually, we do roast our own beans and we have a great menu. But out here, it's like if you want a sugar-free flavor, it's sugar-free vanilla. So like there's not a lot of anything to choose from. Even like getting a stevia in some places is difficult. So I'm so excited, but it's all Dunkin' or Starbucks for the most part. So I think it's going to be really fun to come in and show, kind of some West Coast culture and to say, like, no, 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 we're going to know you. We're going to know your drink. We're going to love you. I've been going to this
Yeah.
cute, just adorable coffee house downtown in our town. And I go there often. It's 2.5 years that we've been here. I get the same drink almost every time. Nobody knows my name. Nobody knows my drink. And I just think, and they're amazing. They're the cutest. They're the best. But we're about to bring something so fun and so different. I think it'll be awesome.
I love that.
Tim Tebow has this phrases that I love when he talks about it, but he talks about embracing the suck, of just like sometimes like it's just tough. There's no other way of making that better. There's no other way to make that sound better. There's no other way of making that feel nice. Like sometimes it's just like, no, no, this is hard, and embrace it and realize there's good character that comes out on the other side of it. But I know, we've talked a lot about our second location in Belize, and Drew opened in that location just this last week. And I was going to tell you, or not this last week, but this last month. And I was going to tell you, Linz, like, if you guys need a team, like if you need Collab to fall and send a team in to help you with your lift for grand openings for either number 3 or number 4, just let us know, tap us in, and we'll fly a couple of people out. Cause I think that obviously that's why Drew was in Belize. That's why, we brought down a couple extra players. Taryn was down in Belize. We sent David out for an A-team lift last summer with the Coffee Republic up here in Montana, where I'm visiting right now. But Drew, I didn't know if you could talk just a little bit about embracing the suck, because I know you had some fun times down in Belize this last month.
Well, like we talked about, you can be so prepared. You can have lists, you can have a calendar, you can have everything planned out, you can have all your vendors lined up, and new things happen. And during the time that the new things are happening, that you're dealing with them, you don't really realize that you're building yourself up in a way, because a lot of things happen down here. I won't list them, or the show would go on too long. But in the midst of it, like you said, the sleepless nights, it's very stressful and it's very difficult. And, on the tail end of it, you're like, wow, I can do some of these things in my sleep now. Like, thank God I went through those issues, because now I'm so much more capable. And being more capable means that, you can also duplicate yourself and the people that you're around, because obviously you guys are full of information, and we're all kind of teachers in our own natural way here. We just want to give information away. So embracing the suck, that's a great way to put it. Because on the tail end of the suck, you're a whole new person and more capable.
Well, so much so that I think that, some of the things that Drew probably doesn't want to tip his hand too deep to it. I mean, Drew's completely rebuilding machines on his own down there in a way that he never had to. Like, had always like teched machines or helped with tech on machines. But like, what do you do when you're in a third world country that doesn't have all the parts, and you're trying to like, beg, borrow, steal to get something local to work for your application? And like us flying parts down, just pay people to get stuff down there so you can rebuild it. And I know Drew, like, to the point that you're like, I don't think there's anybody you could probably send me at this point that's going to know more about this machine than I know about it. So let's just give me the parts down here and I'll just take care of it, because you've had to get so intimately acquainted with the machines and breakages, and not just one machine, but 2 machines. And then not just those machines, but soda gun machines. Like every different break that could break, I feel like is broken on Drew this past month. And I know it was stressful. And there were times, Ben, you can attest to, where we came on for Coffee Experts Club and I'm like, hey, Drew, let's have you take a break this time. Like you look rough, bro. Like you just look beat. And I don't know, it'd be a good idea for us to bring you into Coffee Experts Club today. But I think that through that season, I think it made you so much higher caliber, because you did embrace the suck and you did come up with the solutions. And now there's less that makes you scared. And maybe we should talk about that for a minute. I think that there's the factor for all of us where we're afraid, right? There are things that we're intimidated by, and there are things that can come yelling at us so loud. Like you were saying, Linz, I've opened up one driveway down from a big guy next door, and people are like, what are you, nuts? And there are times you're like, no, I know what I'm doing. There are other times you're like, what am I, nuts? Where it's like, you are scared, you are afraid, but I feel like if you punch at it, I heard Alex Ramosi talk about this earlier this week, when he was quoting his wife, Lila, about fear a lot of times is a mile wide but an inch deep. And if you'll
Yeah.
just step into it, what you'll find is that it's not as scary as you thought you were, but it was trying to beat you back and to live in fear. So maybe we should talk about that for a minute of like, there are plenty of things that cause us to live afraid. And Lindsay, I think you and CJ have been some of the bravest people I've known of saying, no, 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 we're not going to be bullied by fear. I'm not going to be pushed around by fear. So
Well, I think we have a late reaction of fear till we say yes and we jump in and then we're like, what did we do? But on that note, one of my favorite speakers, I actually listened to the message again twice today, and he was talking about the whole idea is the food is in the fight. And that sounds so weird, but his idea was when we face conflict, it makes us stronger for that next conflict. So you're talking about, being elbow deep in this machine. Well, the next opening you do, it's not going to feel like a conflict because you just faced the thing that we all fear so much. I mean, we flew back here after our second opening and had a very similar situation. And you can't do anything, Aaron. Like you feel so helpless because we're 3,000 miles away.
yeah,
Okay, let's serve cold brew for a little bit. So I think when you face those things, it gives you what you need to face that next thing. And maybe it's in the same area, maybe it's something completely different. Maybe you think you have your funding completely lined out and then it gets pulled out from under you and you have to get creative. And I think every single
right.
time it expands our capacity, not just for our know-how, but just the emotion of carrying this stress. Because it's not, at the end of the day, it's not just me and CJ. It's not just you guys. You have a team that you have to pay. And, you don't want to have bad reviews from just stupid things that you're like, I can't control this. And so I think it just gives you that emotional strength, that emotional tough to say like, oh my gosh, I faced that thing that I thought was going to take me down and it didn't take me down. And especially with CJ and I just, working together, being married for however long we've been married, almost 24 years, it can get dicey with your relationship. Like it can get like when one person isn't sleeping, obviously they're not going to be super bubbly and nice about everything. And, I get short and then and we're going back and in the midst of, okay, well, we still have to figure this out. And I think every single time we've done this, we have the corniest thing. It's going to make me cry, but we just look at each other and we say, we're doing it. Like, it's so hard. We didn't get taken out today. Like, we're doing it. Are we doing it right? Probably not. We got to do it the hard way, but we are doing it and we're not giving up. So I think sometimes that's the only thing you can hold on to.
I love that. It just says like when you reach that most stressful point in your life, whatever it is, opening a new shop, time and time again, it just pushes that bar higher. So you're always like, well, it actually, what I'm doing now wasn't as stressful actually as that most stressful thing in my life a year ago.
Right.
And you just keep pushing that stress bar up and you don't realize that like, if you were to look back over 3 years, like, how did I do all this? Like me 3 years ago would never been able to do this just because you're just slowly pushing that stress bar higher. You're like, oh, I could do this. It's not as bad as that. It wasn't as bad as that. It wasn't as bad as that. And I'm still here.
We've all seen those brands. I know, Ben, you and I have had a lot of those conversations too, you and me too, of like, they just have taken the easier way. Yeah. Wait, you've been open 20 years and you have 3 locations. Like what are we doing here? Like that was what you chose to do over the last 20 years. Like you're okay with just 3. I mean, that's what you want. And I just think nobody is making the kind of time that you and CJ are making of like, okay, wait a minute. So you're opening up 3 and 4 and have 5 franchise deals in hand. Like who's doing that? Like straight out of the can, especially because Linz, what most people on this call might not know is you guys didn't come with the knowledge of coffee. It's not like you entered into this business where you had like this, that like Ben and Drew and these guys that have come in and that we interview a lot of times, they've got this whole history of coffee. So to continue to push the envelope and something they're masters in, people would be like, yeah, you'd be wasting a gift if you don't use that. You know what I mean? But like you and Siege, you're like, oh, coffee. Yeah, that's something we want to do. How about we open 4 locations and 5 franchises, like 4 years? That's pretty impressive. And it's because you guys don't get intimidated by the suck. It's because you guys don't like get like held back by fear. And that impresses me. I'm impressed with you for that.
Well, I think too, like, it's not that we're not afraid. I mean, we are afraid all the time. Like sometimes even just last week, we're looking at each other going like, okay, we know we're going to get through this. We're not going to die, but just what's going on? Like nothing has gone right. And it's more than embracing the suck. It's more of just this life that you say, I want to make an impact. Like, of course, we want to serve great coffee. That's fun. We want to have fun menus, but I want to know that at the end of it all, that I've done everything I can to make a positive impact on the people around me. And so for us, that's why it's not about like, hey, let's grow, get our numbers up and then go public or whatever. Like, that's not our heart. Our heart is to say, like, how can we get into as many communities as possible to encourage? We have our little wake up words that we write on top. And sometimes I look at them because I wrote them all like last year and they just cycled through. I'm like, wow, that is a mouthful. And the girls had to write every single one of that as couplets. But like, we just want to make people's days better. And that sounds like fluffy and light. But when you think about just having a bad day or going through a rough season, CJ and I both went through 23 was hands down the worst year of our life. I mean, CJ at this time last year passed out in the Chicago airport. We had 2 heart surgeries. He lost his mom unexpectedly. And then 3 months later, I lost my mom. And it just like, it was hard to get out of bed some days. And I just think we're all going to go through. Yes, business is challenging. Yes, openings are challenging, but then you have life and life hits.
Right.
And you have to weigh what's important. And is serving, the best mocha important? I don't know. But is loving people on the days where they feel like they can't breathe and you don't even know what's going on in their life, but you look at them and you see them and you say like, we see you and we're here and here's some encouragement, like that matters. And I think this year has shown us that making an impact and loving as many people as we can, loving our team so they can love other people, like that's what matters. And that's why we want to grow. And that's what keeps us going on the weeks like last week. Like Aaron's like boxing us or texting us all this encouragement all week because he knew like we felt like we had been run over backwards by a steamroller. And this week we're okay. So it's just like, you got to do what you do. And growth has to be like a bigger reason than bank accounts or just having the prestige of I'm number one, in our valley or whatever. So.
Love that.
Are you happy you made me cry, Aaron?
I love it. That's the best part of the show. Best part of the show right there. Awesome. Anybody have something they want to wind up the show with as we get ready to tie it up in the next minute or two with Lindsay? Got any final questions? Any things you want to get out there?
Yeah, we're excited. We have Yellowstone County we sold, and then Bentonville, Arkansas, and then actually Springfield, Oregon. So all of those 5 will be in those 3 locations. So
slowly moving inward on the country. That's a smart plan. Just sandwich it.
What's funny is they're all they're outsider customers who moved away. So they just loved it so much. So that feels good.
Well, Lynn, I just want you, and maybe we'll have you back and talk about franchise a different time because we would love to dig into that. And I feel like that's not something we've gone deep with, but for another day of talking about embracing the suck and not being afraid. But Lynn, thank you so much for just coming on here. I love your vulnerability. I love your authenticity. We love you. And CJ, just know like you have us so in your corner, and any way that we can help, we always want to be a help. And just thank you for just talking with us today. And we're so excited for location number 3 and 4, South Carolina. Pendleton area sounds like the next one coming. So keep your eyes open, South Carolina. It's going to be a good thing for you guys soon. So Lindsay, thank you so much. And Ben and Drew, always so good to see you.
Thanks so much for joining us today. For those of you who are looking to become a coffee expert yourself, we offer an incredible, thorough training online for opening your first coffee drive-thru at www.myfirstdrivethru.coffee.
Thinking of all my friends in Indie Coffee Coalition, just thinking about the hundreds of thousands of dollars we've saved coffee shop owners just like you, who are not franchisees, who are looking for deals on their fat mix and their energy drinks. Why should the franchises get all the deals, right? Indie Coffee Coalition was built with the idea of saving you, the little guy, tons of cash. So if you're a coffee shop owner, you have 1 to 3 coffee shops, and you're serving blended drinks or energy drinks, we can substantially save you money and keep more money in your pocket. Set up a call. I'd love to talk with you. Indie Coffee Coalition, keeping money in your pocket.